December 18th of 1987, a video game company called Square released an RPG called Final Fantasy for the Famicom, or better known as the NES in the West. Final Fantasy was coming off of Enix's popular Dragon Quest, which released a year earlier, and during this time, Square was on the brink of bankruptcy. Hironobu Sakaguchi, director of the project, decided that the company's last game would be a fantasy game, thus the title Final Fantasy was given to it. Final Fantasy became a huge success, keeping Square afloat, and now 30 years later, Final Fantasy has 15 main entries, over 40 spin-offs, 4 movies, and a live-action TV show. The first Final Fantasy may have been the foundation that kept Square in business, but there are several Final Fantasy that have made their own impact and influence in the series and in the RPG genre. While the first Final Fantasy had the player choose jobs, those jobs were permanent and more like self-contained avatars. It wasn't until 3 did we see the first iteration of the job system that we know of today. 4 introduced the Active Time Battle System, or ATB, which gauges turns with a bar that fills up over time. 6 was the first in the series to introduce ability progression other than by purchasing them at shops or gaining them through levels. 7 is what made the series iconic with its huge success, selling over 13 million copies in its lifetime. 7's success was due largely to being a launch title for the PlayStation and featuring impressive visuals for the time. It was the first in the series to feature CGI cutscenes, or FMVs as they're known, and it's become an iconic part of the series. 10 was the first with voice acting, and 11 was the series' first MMO. Final Fantasy is a juggernaut in the industry, being the second best-selling RPG series of all time, with a total of over 130 million units sold. It is a series that has resonated with people and it made an impact on the industry. It has not only made an impact on the industry, but also on my life. I first played Final Fantasy in the year 2000 when my little brother's father came home with a bunch of games he bought out of the back of somebody's car trunk. And one of those games was Final Fantasy 9. Immediately, I knew I was getting to something special when I saw those opening FMVs. It was not long after I beat it that I started to come up with my own ideas for a sequel. And then I decided that when I grow up, I wanted to make video games. And it was around the age of 13 that I decided to write books, become an author in order to fund the money I needed to make these video games. And I wrote my first book when I was 18. I finished that at 18. I wrote my second during college years, and then I'm almost finished with my third. Final Fantasy has made a big impact on my life. As I mentioned, it decided my career choices, which led to my school choices, the jobs I had along the way, the people I met, joining black entrepreneurship, and into the current position I'm in now. And I've also written for 3 websites, Hardcore Gamer, Eyes on Final Fantasy, and Black Girl Nerds. And I also write on my own blog as well, but I haven't been doing much of that lately. And really, Final Fantasy pretty much orchestrated the events of my life. With Final Fantasy, I've only played 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 10-2, 12, and a bit of the beta for A Realm Reborn. Not much. Haven't played really any of the spin-offs other than Dirge of Cerberus and Crystal Defenders. I played a tiny bit of Dissidia, but that's it. For this 30th anniversary, really Square Enix hasn't done much. They've released like a wine collection, and the producer also mentioned that there's some big things coming up for next year, but I honestly don't expect anything but some mobile titles. The PS4 release of Dissidia NT, and that's really about it. We also had Zodiac Age last year as well, but I really think that game would have came out regardless. Really, the future of the franchise, I'm looking forward to it. I still haven't played 13 or 15 yet, and I'm just looking forward to the series going back to more turn-based combat. As we like to, as we're familiar with the series. Final Fantasy VII, the remake, we haven't heard much about that. We might get it this year. We might get it in 2018, but really, who knows about that? I really doubt it. but it'll be interesting to see where this series goes. Hopefully it'll stay around for maybe another 30 years. Alright, but I'll catch y'all next time. Make sure to click and subscribe.